So we all know that TDX just released 3 event battle passes and their modes, and that a decent amount of the player base is angry that it would cost 499 Robux once the 3-week period is over. Noel already made a video about this, but I wanted to talk about my own opinions and stuff that weren't said in the video. Also, a reminder to not flood any socials for TDX with just meaningless hate, since that would only make what we're complaining about less favorable in their eyes. I'll start this off with this. I understand why the devs think it would be a good idea to paywall this, since they did tweak and fix the old events to work how they were intended. It's hard to justify working on something that would slow down the game's update schedule if there won't be any payoffs. But this is literally half the game. It shouldn't surprise anyone that people would be against the idea of a paid DLC in their free-to-play game. Even TDS hasn't pulled such a thing yet. First reason I personally think this update was disappointing was the fact that John has stated over and over again that this would be an update which would help with the new player grind, but then suddenly say it'll cost Robux and then put a 3-week grace period to obtain them for free. It's almost like they knew this would be a major complaint. If they really wanted to charge for it, they should have been more transparent about it when John was saying all that stuff about helping new players. Anyone that joins 3 weeks late definitely won't benefit from it. The amount you need to pay isn't really that much, if it's just 500 for all 3 and not individually. But paying for a major part of the gameplay in a free Roblox game is something people haven't even tried to do because of how ridiculous it is. The only game to my knowledge that has done this is Entry Point, which isn't even that bad in my opinion because the main intended plot is completely free to play, and the new missions themselves don't have completely new mechanics that change how the game is played. TDX being heavily reliant on its modes for its gameplay is also what makes it sting even more, since if you're bored of the main modes, you'd have to pay after the 3 weeks to experience the event modes. While in Entry Point, if you're that bored, they have other multiplayer PvP modes that you could play. The final point for this section is, why are we charging to make modes playable? Isn't that what microtransactions are for? Don't we have paid skins, the option to buy gold and towers for Robux, VIP to grind faster, and the speed game pass to make playing with friends more convenient and easier so that we can play the game for free? Why couldn't they have just made it so that the battle passes are the paid ones and kept the game modes playable for free? If the battle passes weren't good enough on their own, they could have just made grinding it way easier so that it kinda works like a skin bundle but with extra stuff that you can grind for. In my opinion, paywalling the event modes is even worse than just having paywalled event towers because it only lets you have an advantage and a cool experience with existing gameplay, and is not an entirely new thing that I'd argue is a core part of TDX's experience. I'd accept even having to grind like 100k gold for each event mode collection just to at least have an option for free-to-plays to experience them. Now for something about the actual content. Most of the modes were improved to a noticeable degree except for the Wretched. It's pretty much the same, but now it actually tries to kill your base. It might be too late now, but I'll suggest some ideas that could have made the fight more intense or as memorable as Commander Selgar or the Void. Firstly, what is the Wretched's approach to attacking? It focuses on utilizing the map's wide open nature and checks that your defense is solid on all sides, through of course attacking your towers and jumping around to different sections. What kind of abilities could they have given the Wretched to make him more engaging and intimidating? My first suggestion is maybe adding a DPS check like Commander Selgar. My idea would be that the Wretched would stop in place and activate a shield just like Commander Selgar and charge up an attack pointed at your base. You have to destroy his shield in order to stop it, otherwise it would deal like 80 to 90% of your base HP. My second suggestion uses an existing mechanic because making the previous one might require doing some complicated stuff. So for this one, why not just give the Wretched an AoE corruption attack? For at least once or twice during that fight, he could stand still and corrupt all the towers in maybe a decently sized radius around him, which would weaken your defense in that specific spot, forcing you to sell all of them and replace them if you want to keep your DPS there up. This would be a more forgiving way to weaken DPS in one of the sections rather than just outright killing them. You could also make the Wretched charge up this attack to indicate that you would need to be ready to sell and replace. Personally, I think this one would be a good addition since the Wretched is the boss of all the enemies that can corrupt, so why not give him a crazy corruption ability? This update could have been really good, but they just had to hide such a big asterisk, and also misrepresent what they wanted to do. This was an update meant to let you play the old modes if you pay. This was not a fix for the grinding issue at all, which means that issue still remains. I hope the dev team addresses all the complaints in a proper announcement, and maybe even walk back the modes themselves being paid. John should not leave out important details when announcing things, because the difference between having a paywall and not having a paywall is a massive difference.